Hi everyone, my name is Boris, and as you know, last June, near the latter part of June, I ended up leaving for the Czech Republic to serve with team, part of a church plant that's been going on. And so today I want to share a little bit more about the work that's been going on in Prague, and share the ministries that I was involved in, and some of the key individuals, I guess, that are on the field currently in Prague. So we'll start here with the slideshow. Go to the next one here. Okay, there's a slide before that, but just to show Czech Republic is landlocked. So you see the bordering countries. At one point in time, during the communist times, the Czech Republic and Slovakia were one country, Czechoslovakia. And in 1989, through the Velvet Revolution, they found their freedom from the Communist Party. And from that point on, the doors opened wide for a lot of the missionaries to go into the Czech Republic and to start church planting. And if you go to the next slide, within Prague, there are many districts, and one of the focus was in the 10th district. And the reason being was, well, first of all, if I take a step back, the South City Church is the congregation that actually decided to plant a new church or a ministry center in the 10th district at the Skalka Ministry Center. And their vision is to actually do church plant every 5 years. They want to continue to produce churches every 5 years. And so this is the first one from South City Church. And so if you look at the metro map there, Skalka is on the green line on the I guess the far right-hand corner. It's Skalka. And that's the 10th district. Within Skalka, there's about 100,000 people living in Skalka, and just to let you know, the entire Prague is about 1 million people living in Prague. And so from that point, the subdivision of Skalka, there's about 22,000 people living there. And just to let you know that this is probably one of the most unreached or underreached areas in Prague. Within the subdivision of Skalka, with 22,000 people, there's no evangelical, Protestant, or Roman Catholic churches there. So the vision was, okay, we're going to go in and start ministry in that area at Skalka. So, and that's the focal point of the mission trip, church planting. Now, before I started to do that, when I got there, there's a lot of summer camps, and basically the missionaries in the summer, they coined it as the Super Bowl of all events, because in the summer they allow families to use their vacation time to go to a destination where they can actually learn English. They have free time to be involved in activities, and most importantly for the ministry is to build the relationship, because most of the people coming to the camps are residing in their neighborhood. So the first camp that I went to was in a place called Jansky Lázně, and this is with the Potma family. So if you go to the next slide. This is a Potma family. This is Mark, Gretchen, and their 4 children. Just to let you know, Mark has been out in the Czech Republic for over 13 years, and all of his 4 children were born in Prague, just to let you know. And so they come back on furlough once in a while. And I met Mark about 1.5 years, 2 years ago through a seminar through the team agency. And so Mark has been out there. He was with the first church, which is called the Shevardov Church. From there, they planted the South City Church, and now they've moved on and they have gotten a vision for the ministry center in Skalka. And if you go to the next slide. So this is basically the first week I got there. We were actually meeting. We got on a bus together, and a lot of people arrived on their own. But the people who needed transportation, we got on the bus and we headed up to Jansky Lázně for a week of summer camp. Next picture. And once we got there, just to let you know, it was by the mountains called the Krkonoše Mountains, bordering Poland. And once we got there, I think it was July 1st, so you see the Canadian flag. We're celebrating Canada Day. And Mark is also from Windsor, Ontario, so he's Canadian as well. And his wife, Gretchen, she's from the United States, I think Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. And so it was Canada Day. The camps were there, so we had over 100 individuals at the camp. It's a family camp. So the next picture. And through there in the morning, are 9 o'clock to about noon, there would be English lessons. And so the classes are in session right now. And if you go to the next picture. And then during that class time, they also would have children's ministry, youth ministry, and this is part of the children's ministry. And there was another short-term team that came from Windsor to help out. And they were an integral part of the summer camp as well. Next picture. And this is Mark, and next to Mark is Pastor Robert Phillip. He's the pastor of the South City Church. If you talk to Robert, he was in the military. He was a cook in the military, and and he got a calling into ministry very late in his life. He's about to retire actually, but he got ordained not too long ago and went through seminary. So he had a calling late in his life, but he's faithfully serving the Lord. And so he's a pastor right now in South City Church, and he was one of the speakers at the family camp. And so you have English lessons from 9 to about noon, and then in the afternoon it's free time for your families. And then in the evening they call the program, which we would call service. And so in the program it has songs, it has skits, and obviously we'd share the gospel message. And then after that we break up into our groups to have further discussions there. So it wasn't mandatory. People who wanted to come, it was freely done. But people were very curious. And so they would come and listen, and through the discussions, we were able to share with them a lot more about the gospel. And one of the important things, obviously, is to build a relationship. Because once we got back, guess what? They were the individuals that we were contacting to allow them to come back to continue English classes and sharing of the gospel as well. So can we go to the next picture? Some kids doing, they're doing singing and they're doing performance for skits. All right, next picture. And this is one of my friends. His name is Aldrich. He's an older gentleman. His girlfriend Ludmilla was at the camp as well, and a very unique story for Aldrich. So he loves to hike. He's been to Canada. He plays table tennis, and he's very proud of that. He says he's very good. He came to Vancouver way back, and he showed me this whole brochure, or I guess the program for the table tennis tournament. And but he loves also nature hiking, and he would take me on hikes at the camp, and we'd go. And literally, when you go for a hike in the Czech, it's not like a 15-minute hike. But they literally go for like 3-4 hours, and it's nonstop up the mountain and you come back down. So he loved hiking, so we'd spend time together hiking during that camp, and then subsequently afterwards we'd meet up again for coffee and for dinner with his girlfriend Ludmilla, and to share life and share the gospel when we had the opportunity to do so. So that was Aldrich. Next picture. This is Martin, and this is George. George in Czech, I can't pronounce it very well. I think it's called Bridgeway. That is a very hard pronunciation. George is the kind of the bald guy with the sorry, with the glasses, and Martin is on the, I guess, to your left as well. And so at this camp, once you sat down together for one meal, you had to actually stay together for the entire meal. It wasn't planned that way, but that's just the way the camp wanted us to order food ahead of time, so it just made it easier for them. So we sat down, and George, with the glasses, actually became very good friends while I was out in the Czech Republic. He found out about the English camp online. He just typed in, I guess, Google search, English camp, and well, the South City Church English camp came up, and he took the initiative to come out, and he came up by himself, and he was sitting by himself, so I introduced myself to him, and we sat down together. And so we were able to enjoy fellowship through that time, just discussing with Martin, George, and then there were 2 other missionaries that came with the short-term team, that we were there just talking and sharing. And so we'd spend a lot of time during the camp, and he wasn't a believer, and afterwards we'd continue to meet up with George, and he loves espresso, and I love coffee too. So we'd meet at the cafes, and we'd talk and share the gospel. And so he started seeking, and he started seeking God, and his heart was just opening up, and his mind was opening up to the Word, and continually he'd seek and we'd share the gospel. And so he was actually then brought to South City Church. He came out to services. He started to get plugged into a modified Alpha program. And one day he came up to me as we were heading on the bus to church. He said, "You know, Boris," he said, "you know, there's one thing wrong with me, and that's pride." And he said, "I can't do anything about that pride. Only God can change my pride." And even before that, we were just talking about God's grace, and we're talking about what Jesus had done, and there's nothing that we can do. It's God's grace alone. And so he shared that with me, and later on he shared that he would place his trust in Jesus as his Lord and Savior. And I got an email from him, and I just want to share a little bit about George and what he's doing right now. He moved jobs. He's back at Charles University right now, and he says, "I have good news from Prague. I feel it that the university is a superb place for me. I discovered the beauty of science, and I like to do the research, to prepare courses for students, to meet with professors and ask them for an advice. I'm just surprised I did not see the beauty years ago, but I know it's the work of God. I am so happy, and I thank Him." And right now, George as well, with Mark at the Scout Community Center, he's with Mark Pokma, founded a group of young adults at the Civic Scout Club. Every 2 weeks, one of